Welcome back to CSM TV. We're back and we're working on our 92 Dodge Colt today. So we have the engine back in. If you haven't been following along, we got our forced engineering built bottom end, made it to our head game's head. We got a whole bunch of stuff powder coated and reassembled, all the turbo kit stuff, as long as a few upgrades, and obviously the engine is back in. We haven't touched it really, other than that. We gotta, connect all the fuel lines, all the wiring, the intercooler, the radiator. Got to get all that stuff done. We got a couple more upgrades still to do, so we're gonna get working on that. But we got to get some of this stuff reassembled first. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing going in is the intercooler radiator subframe. It's all one piece. Makes it a little bit easier to get in and out. And I did use a jack. Usually I use the motorcycle jack that's actually under the car. I don't know why. I probably should have pulled it out because it's a lot easier to use that than the jack. I had a little struggle with it, but yeah, I kept that jack in there because these engine mounts I do got to fiddle with to get them to go in proper. They're solid mounted, so it makes it kind of tricky. So you don't want to. I don't snug everything up at all on the engine. I kind of keep it loose. So it's honestly the reason why I want to keep it in there. So keeping it right where it's at and right where I need it, so I can kind of move everything around and get all the mounts lined up first before we can snug everything up. Next thing up, we're starting on the top side of the engine bay. Normally I go underneath the car and try to knock that stuff out, just because it's a pain in the ass to crawl under the car and put in the T-case and all that stuff. And I try to knock out the not harder, but the worst stuff and just get it out of the way and get it over with. But today I just was not feeling it, so I just wanted to start off top side, do something easy. We're just plugging stuff in and bolting together a few things, all the easy stuff. But one thing I have learned on YouTube is grab all my tools before I start a project. I've kind of gotten the habit of that because it looks better on camera, and it actually makes things a lot easier. You do have to do a little thinking, so it's a bit of a struggle for me, but it is nice once you get it set up that way. Going on to the underside of the car, we started out with converter bolts. Just pop those boys in with some red Loctite, torque them down to spec, and fortunately I can grab that on my own. I don't have to have some weird Subaru guy come by and kind of mess up the video, so that's definitely a plus side. But once we get those torqued down, we actually put a paint mark on the bolts as just a visual, see if they're moving at all. I know I've heard of people having issues with them backing out. I haven't had that problem, but it kind of just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside knowing that is there. Of course, right at the home stretch, I had to make a hardware run to grab a new bolt for the intermediate shaft. The old bolts, they were a different thread size because I retapped the block because of an incident I had several years ago. So just had to grab a new bolt, and yeah, we're finished up down here. Alright, with that, we got pretty much everything installed. Alright, that's a little better. So now we got everything installed that we can. A few things still got to go, but that's because they got to make way for the upgrades, and they kind of be in the way for right now. So we'll get to those once everything's in there. But first thing we're going to do, we had a 3-port Mac valve in the car. going to a 4-port because we are going to be trying to push the car a little bit since we have a built engine now. So we want to be able to not be limited by the boost amount that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change. I have cheated a little bit. I've kind of went through, got my line set up, kind of going, I think, where I want it. Basically, because I had to order parts, whatnot, so I didn't get that on video. Next thing we got is an oil filter relocation, which we are using this Earl's adapter. All right, lost my footage of my adapters. Luckily, little Matt has a identical setup that I'll be running for the oil filter relocation. So there's the part number for the filter adapter. This nice billet piece. It's got an in and an out. And this is an MPT. I found out the hard way. These are MPT in and out. And then you have to run an adapter to like a 10 amp is what I did. And then you have the filter housing. So in, out, whichever side works better for you. Sorry. 2 ins, 1 out, whichever side works best for you. And then it runs this big GM oil filter. As you can see, big difference from the Mitsubishi filter I was running. So yeah, should work out pretty good. Let's get to installing this. It's already installed. I don't know where to go. Like I said, I did cheat on you guys a little bit. So the boost controller is gonna sit back here a little bit. I still gotta make a bracket back here. I wanted to get the lines ordered, which I only need to order 1 line, thankfully, to redo the setup. And I need to tuck these lines in a little bit, but I wanted to get all this set up so I can figure out a spot for the oil filter housing. It's kind of a pain in the ass. You know, I was trying to put it somewhere in here, but then it kind of makes it hard to, where do I go with changing the oil without dumping it all over the frame rail, you know, trying to maybe do something like that, but then that, once again, dumping oil everywhere every time I got to do an oil change. Doing some brainstorming with my buddy Matt, and he suggested under the bumper over here, with maybe here, and then the lines have to come through this route through, which they got a 90, unfortunately, because that bar is in the way. But I think we're going to go with that. The only concern I had is if there's an oil leak, that oil would get on the tire, but if there's an oil leak up top, buddy Matt said, oil leak up top, it's going to hit hot parts and could cause a fire. So it's, what do you go with? I don't really know. So I think we're going to go with the in the tire area. So I need to figure that out and try to get some fittings ordered. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's what we got. Take her around, which actually isn't too bad of an angle, and I think a 90 out of this probably work, and then maybe like then this is the in, this is the out. There's another in over here, but we're gonna plug that, and maybe something like that, maybe. And this can move inward a little. I could trim this factory bumper, trim this up all the way actually to like here and shove it in if I need be. But I think I'm gonna have to shove the bumper on to see what kind of room we have. Right there she is. Get about a finger width on that fitting. We can go over, like I said, go over towards the frame rail a little bit, so I may go ahead and do that. Get that thing cut out, and then looks like won't have any problems pulling the filter or it draining on the bumper, but I think I'll shove it over just a little bit just to be safe. Maybe do some cutting. So yeah. Gonna have to get some fittings ordered. We can start working on that. sticker. Alright, got everything to do our catch can lines and our oil filter housing. Went with Fragola, PTFE fittings. That's what is already on the car basically for at least all the fuel stuff. I think this is the only stuff that's different. But I already had some 10-an lines, so it was a little cheaper just for me. I mean, in general, it is more expensive, but since I had line, it made it a little cheaper. So, and you can get cheaper with different brands or running braided nylon, something like that. But I'll keep it all the same and keep it looking all the same because I'm OCD like that, and I think it'll look really good. So, yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and get started on our first line, and we need to get our oil filter housing kind of situated. All right, we got our oil filter housing loosely on there for mock-up. I think this line's going to work. I have to bend it up. And we'll have to mark it, which is right about here. So it'll be the top of this bottom fitting where we want to mark to get our correct length in. So we'll do that, and then we can start on the other line, get that going. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right, we've got all of our lines done for our oil filter relocation and our catch can. There's one line I do want to redo. Have enough line, but I want to test them first to make sure they're all good and nothing is leaking. I do have a test kit from Earl's. I've used it before. Actually, my buddy Matt had one, and I finally got my own. If you're doing AN fittings, you need to have that. It'll save you time and money in the long run. Otherwise, you're throwing it on the car and finding out there's a leak then, and that really sucks. Nothing worse than doing that. So I want to get all these tested and cleaned out before we do that. So let's go ahead and get into that. Sorry about the air compressor noise. Yeah, it's got a leak. I haven't fixed it yet, but we're just going to have to deal with it, and hopefully you can hear me talk. But basically, the Earl's line testing kit. This comes with this plug and an air chuck end. You just got to fill this with air. I think it's at around 125 is the max. Dunk it in some water and see if it leaks. So, again, get to it. So this first one is a good example of what you want to see. There might be a couple air bubbles, but you don't want a steady stream. And this second one is a good example of what you don't want to see. And that was just a loose fitting, so I just had it tightened up, and it was fine. But I wanted to show both examples. So I think I got the lines crossed up when I made them. Unfortunately, I don't like how it looks. So them crossing just bugs me for some reason. So moving it down and switching the fittings on the catch can, it still makes that actual line a little bit too short, and it's kind of rubbing on the blow-off valve and intercooler pipe. So I think the best move is just to redo this this line. So these fittings, they are reusable. Everything but the ferrule or the olive part. So basically just take everything apart. You have to pull that ferrule out, throw it away, and get new ones. Luckily, I ordered extra at some point when I was having an issue with some leaks. So I got an extra hanging around, so it's not a bad thing to have if you don't have any. basically we just do that, redo the line, and pop it in there, and yeah, we'll see how it looks. All right, got everything pretty much bolted in. Got our lines all hooked up. So the only thing we have left is the boost controller. Fortunately, I'm missing a nut on the back of here, so I have to run to the hardware store. I want to finish this video out. I'll go ahead and show you some of the engine bay because it turned out really good. That should do it for the engine bay for now. Got a couple little things I got to do. Would have loved to get a first start on it on this video. Fortunately, we got to wait for that. We got a dyno appointment in about a month and a half, so I don't want ED5 sitting in the fuel system for that long. So we're going to hold off on that for now. And then we will get a first start before we get to the dyno. We just want to keep it real short run time on this engine until we can get some load on it. And then, yeah, then we'll hit the dyno, and hopefully we got the head gasket issue fixed, and it was something with the old engine, something like that. But yeah, so stick around. We'll have more videos coming. I don't know how soon next Colt one will be. We'll see. I might work on the Gallant. Whatever. I'm going on. Doesn't matter. But thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.